What if I told you that Africa already possesses the financial firepower to solve its own infrastructure crisis? Not from foreign aid, not from international loans, but from resources right here on our continent. A groundbreaking report from the Africa Finance Corporation has revealed something extraordinary. Africa is sitting on approximately $4 trillion in domestic savings. Yes, you heard that correctly, $4 trillion. These aren't foreign investments or promised aid packages. This is our money, held in pension funds across Nigeria and South Africa, in sovereign wealth funds from Angola to Botswana, and in bank deposits from Cairo to Cape Town. To put this in perspective, $4 trillion is more than the entire GDP of United Kingdom. It's enough to build the infrastructure of 3 continents. Yet here we are, with a $400 billion annual infrastructure gap that continues to hold back our development. Let's talk about what this infrastructure gap means for ordinary Africans. In Lagos, business owners lose millions every day to power outages. In Kampala, students miss school because roads become impassable during rainy seasons. From Accra to Addis Ababa, entrepreneurs watch their dreams die because they can't get their goods to market efficiently. The Africa Finance Corporation estimates we need $400 billion annually to bridge this gap. For decades, we've looked outward, to China, to Europe, to international development banks. But the AFC report suggests we've been looking in the wrong direction. The solution isn't in Beijing or Brussels, it's in Johannesburg pension funds, it's in Nairobi bank vaults, it's in the sovereign wealth funds of oil-rich African nations. But here's where the story gets interesting and frustrating. Those $4 trillion, they're largely sitting idle or being invested outside Africa. While our continent struggles with inadequate railways, unreliable power grids, and poor road networks, our own capital is funding infrastructure projects in Europe, America, and Asia. It's like having the keys to a Ferrari, but choosing to walk everywhere because we haven't figured out how to start the engine. The AFC identifies the core problem: regulatory barriers and poor savings mobilization systems that prevent this domestic capital from flowing into local infrastructure projects. Imagine if just 1/10 of this capital, $400 billion, was redirected toward African infrastructure. We could fund high-speed rail networks connecting major African cities. We could build power plants that finally end load shedding across the continent. We could construct ports that make African goods competitive globally. So what needs to change? First, regulatory reform. African governments must modernize financial regulations to allow pension funds and other institutional investors to participate in infrastructure financing. Currently, many pension funds are legally restricted from investing in the very projects that could transform their countries. Second, we need better savings mobilization. This means creating financial instruments that can channel domestic savings toward infrastructure while providing competitive returns to investors. Third, we need political will. Leaders across Africa must recognize that the solution to our infrastructure crisis isn't waiting for the next donor conference. It's sitting in our own financial institutions. This isn't just theoretical. The Africa Finance Corporation's comprehensive analysis shows we have the domestic capital resources to address our infrastructure needs. The $4 trillion breaks down into $1.1 trillion in long-term institutional capital, $2.5 trillion in commercial banking assets, and more than $470 billion in reserves held by central banks across the continent.
In Nigeria, the Infrastructure Credit Guarantee Company, InfraCredit, is already forging a path. It offers local currency guarantees to bond issuers, making infrastructure bonds A-rated and attractive to pension fund. Since 2017, InfraCredit has backed bonds for roads, solar projects, even a motorway around Ekiti State. Pension fund exposure to infrastructure has grown from near zero to approximately 1% of assets since 2017. If models like InfraCredit scale across the continent, the impact could be transformative, from railway networks to broadband, solar grids to water systems, funded by African savings. This builds sovereign resilience, reducing reliance on external debt and donor fatigue.
The question isn't whether we have the money. We do. The question is whether we have the vision and political courage to unlock it. As we wrap up tonight's story, let's remember this. Africa doesn't need to be a beggar at the global infrastructure table. We're not a continent waiting for handouts or hoping for favorable loan terms from foreign powers. We are a continent with 4 trillion reasons to believe in ourselves. $4 trillion that represent the savings, investments, and financial power of over 1 billion Africans. The infrastructure revolution Africa needs isn't coming from outside. It's already here, waiting in our pension funds, our banks, and our sovereign wealth accounts. The question is, when will our leaders have the courage to unlock it? This has been Red News Africa. Until next time, keep believing in African solutions for African challenges.